You've probably heard about the rivalry between Queen Elizabeth I and Mary, Queen of Scots. Perhaps you know that Mary was eventually executed, or that the two queens were cousins who never actually met. Maybe you've seen movies showing their dramatic confrontations, though those meetings never really happened. But what was this rivalry really about? Why did two queens who were family become mortal enemies? And what made Elizabeth, who avoided executing almost everyone else, finally sign her cousin's death warrant after 19 years? How did a beautiful French queen end up a prisoner in English castles? And why do historians still debate whether Mary was a tragic victim or a dangerous conspirator? We'll explore these questions and many more tonight. The story of these two queens is filled with political intrigue, religious conflict, bad marriages, secret letters, and ultimately, a tragic execution that shocked all of Europe. So relax and let your mind drift as we discover the complicated history of two queens, one throne. December 8th, 1542. Mary Stuart is born at Linlithgow Palace in Scotland. Her father, King James V, dies just 6 days later, devastated by Scotland's defeat at the Battle of Solway Moss. At less than a week old, Mary becomes Queen of Scots. She's crowned at Stirling Castle when she's 9 months old, a tiny baby wearing a miniature crown. Meanwhile, in England, Elizabeth Tudor is 9 years old. She's already lived through her mother, Anne Boleyn's execution, been declared illegitimate, and learned to survive in her father's dangerous court. While baby Mary is being crowned Queen young, Elizabeth is learning that staying quiet and appearing harmless are the best ways to stay alive. These two girls, born just 9 years apart, are cousins. They're both great-granddaughters of Henry VII of England, but their paths to power couldn't be more different. Mary inherits her crown as an infant. Elizabeth will have to survive 15 more years of danger, scandal, imprisonment, and constant threats before she becomes queen at age 25. Imagine Scotland in the 1540s. It's caught between two powerful neighbors, England to the south and France to the north. King Henry VIII of England wants baby Mary to marry his son Edward, hoping to unite the two kingdoms. When Scotland refuses, Henry launches the Rough Wooing, a brutal military campaign with English troops burning Edinburgh, destroying border abbeys, ravaging the countryside. It's a proposal made at sword point. The Scots turn to their traditional ally, France. In 1548, when Mary is 5 years old, she's sent across the sea to the French court. She'll be raised in luxury and eventually marry the French prince. In exchange, France will protect Scotland from England. Mary spends the next 13 years in France, and they're probably the happiest years of her life. She grows up in magnificent chateaux, Fontainebleau, Chenonceau, Amboise, Saint-Germain-en-Laye. She's educated alongside the French royal children. She learns to speak French fluently, along with Latin, Italian, and Spanish. She studies poetry, music, dancing, and all the accomplishments expected of a Renaissance princess. King Henri II of France adores her. The most beautiful child he had ever seen, he calls her. The Dauphin. Francis, though small and sickly, is devoted to her. Everyone at court loves the charming Scottish queen. Mary grows tall, nearly 6 feet, unusual for the time, with auburn hair, hazel eyes, pale skin, and a graceful bearing. She learns to play the lute, to compose verses, to ride and hunt. She becomes everything a queen should be, beautiful, cultured, and charming. On April 24th, 1558, 15-year-old Mary marries 14-year-old Francis in a spectacular ceremony at Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. She wears white, unusual as white was mourning color in France. and the most magnificent jewels. The wedding is celebrated with tournaments, banquets, and pageants. Mary seems destined for a glorious future, but then tragedy strikes. In July 1559, King Henri II is killed in a jousting accident. Suddenly, Francis becomes King Francis II, and Mary is Queen of France as well as Queen of Scotland. For one brief, shining moment, she's one of the most powerful women in Europe. It doesn't last. In December 1560, just 17 months after becoming king, Francis dies from an ear infection. He's 16. Mary is widowed at 18. While Mary was dancing in French palaces, Elizabeth was fighting for survival in England. She endured the scandal with Thomas Seymour when she was 14. She was imprisoned in the Tower of London, at 20 suspected of treason during Wyatt's rebellion. She spent years under house arrest during her half-sister Mary Tudor's reign, always aware that she could be executed at any moment. But in November 1558, just months after Mary's wedding in Paris, Mary Tudor died. Elizabeth became Queen of England at age 25. She'd survived through intelligence caution and an ability to keep people guessing about her true loyalties. Now, here's the problem. In Catholic eyes, Elizabeth isn't the legitimate queen. They believe Henry VIII's marriage to Anne Boleyn was never valid, which means Elizabeth is illegitimate. And who's the next legitimate heir in the Catholic view, Mary Queen of Scots? She's Henry VII's great-granddaughter through his daughter Margaret Tudor. Her claim is pure. No controversies about marriages or legitimacy. When Mary became Queen of France in 1559, she and Francis began using the English royal coat of arms alongside the French and Scottish arms. They were claiming that Mary was the rightful Queen of England. This was a direct challenge to Elizabeth. Elizabeth never forgot this insult. Even after Francis died, and Mary no longer used the English arms Elizabeth remembered, Mary had claimed her throne. That was something Elizabeth couldn't forgive or forget. By 1561, everything has changed for both women. Mary's husband is dead. She's no longer welcome in France. Francis's mother, Catherine de' Medici, resents her and wants her gone. Mary must return to Scotland, a country she barely remembers that she left when she was 5. Elizabeth is now secure on England's throne. She survived the dangerous first years of her reign. She's established her religious settlement, a middle way between Catholic and Protestant that most English people can accept. She's shown herself to be a skilled ruler, cautious but effective. In August 1561, Mary sails back to Scotland. She's 18, beautiful, educated, and utterly unprepared for what awaits her. Scotland has become predominantly Protestant while she was away. The fierce preacher John Knox rails against the monstrous regiment of women, his phrase for female rulers. Mary is Catholic French in all but blood, more comfortable speaking French than Scots English. Elizabeth watches Mary's return with concern. As long as Mary is in France, she's far away. But Scotland shares a border with England. A Catholic queen in Scotland with a claim to the English throne could be very dangerous. Elizabeth begins gathering intelligence about her cousin. She wants to know everything Mary does, everyone she meets, every decision she makes. The two queens have never met. They never will meet. But from this point on, their fates are intertwined. What Mary does affects Elizabeth. What Elizabeth does affects Mary. They're bound together by blood, by rival claims, by religion, and by the simple fact that many people believe there's only room for one of them to be queen. For the first few years back in Scotland, Mary rules reasonably well. She's advised by her illegitimate half-brother, Lord James Stuart, later Earl of Moray, who's Protestant but pragmatic. Mary allows Protestant worship while practicing her Catholic faith privately. She's gracious, intelligent, and genuinely wants to be a good queen. But Mary has a fatal weakness. She falls in love unwisely. In 1565, she meets her cousin, Henry Stuart, Lord Darnley. He's tall, handsome, athletic, everything Mary finds attractive. He's also Catholic and has his own claim to the English throne through his grandmother, Henry VIII's sister, Margaret Tudor. Marrying Darnley would strengthen Mary's claim to succeed Elizabeth. Elizabeth is furious when she hears about this marriage. Darnley is English-born, and Elizabeth had refused permission for the marriage. But Mary doesn't need Elizabeth's permission. She's a queen in her own right. The wedding takes place in July 1565. It's a disaster from the start. Within months, Mary realizes Darnley is vain, arrogant alcoholic, and stupid. She gave him the title of King of Scotland, but kept the real power. Darnley resents this. He drinks, he sulks, he makes scenes at court. Mary begins to despise her husband. Imagine Mary in early 1566. She's 6 months pregnant with Darnley's child. She finds comfort in the company of her Italian secretary, David Riccio, a talented musician, a good conversationalist, a loyal friend. They're not lovers, but they spend time together playing music, discussing poetry, working on correspondence. And Darnley is insanely jealous. March 9th, 1566. A Saturday evening. Mary is having a small supper party in her private chambers at Holyrood Palace with Riccio and a few friends. Suddenly, her husband Darnley appears with a group of armed men. Lord Ruthven is with them wearing full armor. They've come for Riccio. Riccio knows immediately what's happening. He hides behind the pregnant Mary, clutching at her skirts. "Justice, justice," he screams. "Save my life, madame." Mary tries to protect him, but the men drag Riccio away from her. As he's pulled through the door into the next room, they stab him again and again. 56 wounds will be counted on his body. Mary, 6 months pregnant, is held at knife point while her friend is murdered just outside her door. She hears his screams. She sees his blood seeping under the threshold. This is Darnley's doing. He organized this murder because he was jealous of Riccio's closeness to Mary. But this terrible act achieves nothing. Mary doesn't forgive Darnley. She doesn't trust him. She doesn't love him. She carries his child to term, a son, James, born in June 1566. But their marriage is over. Some historians believe Mary began plotting Darnley's death from this moment on. February 10th, 1567. Kirk Field, a house just outside Edinburgh's walls. Darnley has been ill, possibly smallpox, possibly syphilis. He's recovering in this house away from the main court. Mary visits him that evening, then leaves to attend a wedding celebration. Around 2 a.m, a massive explosion destroys the house. The blast is so powerful that people hear it across Edinburgh. Debris rains down. Neighbors come running. But when they search the ruins, they find something strange. Darnley's body is in the garden away from the house. He's not burned. He's not crushed by falling debris. He's been strangled. Someone murdered Darnley, then blew up the house to cover the crime. Who killed him? Suspicion immediately falls on James Hepburn, Earl of Bothwell, a powerful Scottish noble who's been close to Mary. Did Bothwell murder Darnley on his own initiative? Did Mary know about it? Did she approve? Did she help plan it? These questions have never been fully answered. Some historians believe Mary was innocent. Others believe she was complicit. The truth remains unclear. Bothwell is tried for murder in April 1567. It's a show trial. He's acquitted. No one dares convict such a powerful man. But everyone knows he's guilty. Everyone suspects Mary knew about the plot. Now Mary makes the decision that will destroy her reign and ultimately cost her life. On May 15, 1567, just 3 months after Darnley's murder, Mary marries Bothwell. The timing is scandalous. The man suspected of murdering her husband and Mary marries him 3 months later. Europe is shocked. Scotland is outraged. Even Mary's supporters begin to doubt her. Some historians believe Bothwell abducted and raped Mary, forcing her into this marriage. Contemporary accounts mention that Bothwell kidnapped Mary and took her to Dunbar Castle. Mary's later letters speak of being forced, but other historians point out that Mary didn't resist very hard, that she seemed to welcome the marriage, that she genuinely seemed to love Bothwell. Whatever the truth, the result is clear. The Scottish nobles rebel immediately. They raise an army. On June 15, 1567, the two sides meet at Carberry Hill near Edinburgh. But there's no battle. Mary's forces simply desert her. Her soldiers don't want to fight for a queen who married her husband's murderer. Mary is taken prisoner. Bothwell is allowed to flee. He'll eventually end up in Denmark, where he goes insane and dies. Mary is imprisoned at Lochleven Castle on an island in the middle of a loch. She's sick, possibly suffering from depression or a breakdown. Between July 20th and 23, she miscarries twins, presumably Bothwell's children. On July 24th, 1567, she's forced to abdicate in favor of her 1-year-old son James. Her half-brother Moray becomes regent. Mary is 24 years old. She's been Queen of Scots since she was 6 days old. Queen of France at 16, a reigning monarch her entire life. Now she has nothing. Mary spends almost a year imprisoned at Lochleven Castle. But in May 1568, she escapes with help from a young man named George Douglas. She raises an army, hoping to reclaim her throne. On May 13, 1568, her forces meet the regent's army at Langside near Glasgow. Mary's army is defeated. Now, Mary faces a terrible choice. She can surrender to the Scottish nobles who might execute her. She can try to reach France, but she has no clear way to get there, and France seems unwilling to help. Or she can cross the border into England and appeal to her cousin Elizabeth for help. On May 16, 1568, Mary makes her decision. She crosses the Solway Firth into England in a small fishing boat. She's 25 years old. She thinks she's escaping to safety. She thinks her cousin will help her regain her throne. She's wrong. Mary will never return to Scotland. She will never regain her throne. She will never see her son again. Her son James will grow up without her, raised as a Protestant by the very people who forced Mary from power. Mother and son will remain separated for the rest of Mary's life. Mary has made many bad decisions. Marrying Darnley, possibly being involved in his murder, certainly marrying Bothwell too soon after Darnley's death. These decisions have cost her everything. But the worst decision is yet to come. Crossing into England, putting herself at Elizabeth's mercy. This decision will cost Mary 19 years of freedom and ultimately her life. When Mary arrives in England in May 1568, Elizabeth faces an impossible dilemma. On one hand, Mary is her cousin, a fellow queen seeking help against rebellious subjects. According to royal protocol, Elizabeth should help Mary regain her throne. Queens support queens. That's how monarchy works. But Mary is also a threat. She's Catholic, with a claim to the English throne that many Catholics consider stronger than Elizabeth's. While Mary lives and is free, she's a potential figurehead for every Catholic who wants to overthrow Protestant Elizabeth. And there are many such Catholics both in England and abroad, in France, Spain, Rome. Elizabeth does what she does best. She delays. She doesn't help Mary return to Scotland, but she doesn't send Mary back by force either. She orders an inquiry into whether Mary was involved in Darnley's murder. If Mary is found innocent, perhaps Elizabeth can help her. If guilty, perhaps Mary must stay in England for her own safety. On April 24, 1558, 15-year-old Mary marries 14-year-old Francis in a spectacular ceremony at Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. She wears white, unusual as white was mourning color in France, and the most magnificent jewels. The wedding is celebrated with tournaments, banquets, and pageants. Mary seems destined for a glorious future. The inquiry reaches no conclusion. Mary is neither cleared nor condemned. And this becomes Elizabeth's policy for the next 19 years. Keep Mary in England, neither free nor formally imprisoned, neither guilty nor innocent. Keep her in limbo. Mary is moved between various castles and manor houses in England. Tutbury Castle in Staffordshire, Sheffield Castle in Yorkshire, Chatsworth House in Derbyshire, Wingfield Manor, Chartley Castle. She spends time in all of these, always under guard, always watched. Her primary keeper for 14 years is George Talbot, Earl of Shrewsbury, who treats her with respect but keeps her secure. Imagine Mary's life during these years. She's no longer the beautiful young queen dancing in French palaces, or even the reigning monarch of Scotland. She's a prisoner, aging, often ill. She suffers from rheumatism, probably made worse by the damp English castles. She has some comforts: servants' fine clothes, materials for her famous embroidery. But she's not free. Mary doesn't accept captivity quietly. She considers herself the rightful Queen of Scotland and the rightful heir to England's throne. She maintains correspondence with Catholic powers abroad: France, Spain, the Pope. She receives secret messages from English Catholics, and she becomes involved in plots against Elizabeth. Whether Mary actively plans these conspiracies or merely gets caught up in them remains debated. What's certain is that she becomes a magnet for Catholic plots. The Rising of the North in 1569, a rebellion to free Mary and put her on England's throne. The Ridolfi Plot in 1571, a scheme for Mary to marry the Duke of Norfolk and overthrow Elizabeth with Spanish help. Norfolk is executed, but Elizabeth still won't execute Mary. In 1570, Pope Pius V issues a papal bull excommunicating Elizabeth and declaring English Catholics no longer owe her loyalty. This makes every English Catholic a potential traitor in the government's eyes. It also makes Mary the Catholic alternative to Elizabeth, whether Mary wants this role or not. Through the 1570s and early 1580s, the conspiracies continue. The Throckmorton Plot in 1583, the Parry Plot in 1585. Each time Elizabeth's spy master, Sir Francis Walsingham, uncovers the plot, each time the conspirators are executed. But Elizabeth still won't move against Mary directly. Why? Elizabeth knows that executing Mary would shock Catholic Europe. It would set a dangerous precedent that anointed monarchs can be executed by other monarchs. It might even encourage Elizabeth's own subjects to believe queens can be deposed and killed. So Mary remains alive, a perpetual threat. By the mid-1580s, she's been imprisoned for nearly 18 years. She's in her early 40s, her beauty faded, her health declining. She spends her days embroidering, creating elaborate designs with hidden symbols, messages worked into flowers and birds. Perhaps she sews to keep her hands busy, to maintain her sanity, to create something beautiful in her prison. Elizabeth reigns successfully. She's navigated religious conflicts, defeated threats, kept England prosperous. But Mary's presence haunts her. Every Catholic plot reminds Elizabeth that as long as Mary lives, she's in danger. Every foreign threat uses Mary as justification for invasion. Mary is like a bomb that never explodes but is always there, always dangerous. The two queens occasionally exchange letters. They write with elaborate courtesy. Dear sister, beloved cousin. Mary sometimes asks for better conditions, for permission to go to France for her health, for a meeting with Elizabeth. Elizabeth writes back with vague promises that never materialize. They never meet. Mary begs for this repeatedly. If only they could meet face to face, she believes they could resolve everything. Elizabeth always refuses. Perhaps she fears Mary's famous charm. Perhaps she knows that seeing her imprisoned cousin would make it impossible to keep her captive. So they remain strangers who know each other only through letters and spies' reports. Think about what these 19 years mean. For Mary, they're years of slow decline, from power and beauty to illness and captivity. She's still a queen in title, but in reality, she's a prisoner who will probably never be free. She writes letters, embroiders, endless designs, plots when opportunity arises, hopes when she dares. But mostly, she waits. For Elizabeth, these are years of constant anxiety. Every plot uncovered, every priest caught, every conspiracy crushed, always wondering if the next one will succeed, if the next assassin will reach her. The threat of Mary colors everything Elizabeth does. Neither queen chose this situation. They're both trapped, one in a series of cold castles, the other in constant fear. The younger cousin imprisoned by the elder, the Catholic alternative held captive by the Protestant queen. Two women who might have been friends become instead two women locked in a dance of mutual destruction that can only end with one of them dead. And in 1586, Sir Francis Walsingham finally provides Elizabeth with what her counselors have wanted for years: concrete proof that Mary has approved a plot to murder the Queen of England. Sir Francis Walsingham has been Elizabeth's spy master for years. He's brilliant, patient, and utterly loyal to his queen. He has agents throughout Europe in Catholic seminaries, even in Mary's own household. And he's convinced that England will never be safe while Mary lives. In early 1586, a young Catholic gentleman named Anthony Babington begins organizing a plot. He's 24, wealthy, idealistic, and devoted to the Catholic cause. His plan: assassinate Elizabeth, rescue Mary Spark, a Catholic uprising, and support a Spanish invasion to put Mary on England's throne. Babington doesn't know that Walsingham already knows everything. One of the conspirators, Gilbert Gifford, works for Walsingham. The secret communication system Babington thinks is secure, controlled by Walsingham's agents. Every letter written, every plan made. Walsingham knows it all. Mary is now at Chartley Manor in Staffordshire, under the harsh supervision of Sir Amyas Paulet, a strict Puritan. She's allowed little freedom. Her correspondence is monitored, or so everyone believes. But Gifford has arranged for Mary's letters to be smuggled in beer barrels. Mary thinks this system is secret. She doesn't know that every letter is intercepted, copied, decoded by Walsingham's expert, Thomas Phillips, and then allowed to continue. Walsingham is reading everything Mary writes. On July 6, 1586, Babington writes to Mary. His letter is detailed and incriminating. He explains the entire plot. 6 gentlemen will assassinate Elizabeth's Spanish troops, will invade Catholics, will rise in rebellion, and Mary will be freed to take the throne. He asks for her approval and blessing. Imagine Mary at Chartley Manor receiving this letter. She's 43 years old. She's been a prisoner for 18 years. Her health is failing. She suffers constant pain from rheumatism. She's trapped, watched with no hope of freedom as long as Elizabeth lives. What should Mary do? She could ignore the letter, refuse to reply, keep her hands clean. Or she could approve the plot, take the dangerous chance that it might actually work, and free her. On July 17, 1586, Mary makes her choice. She writes back to Babington. She approves the plot. She writes in cipher, but her meaning is clear. She thanks Babington for his loyalty. She gives detailed instructions. And most damningly, she writes about the assassination. Then shall it be time to set the 6 gentlemen to work. This is what Walsingham has been waiting for. Proof that Mary has approved regicide, the murder of an anointed queen. His expert Felipe's decodes the letter and is so excited he draws a little gallows symbol on it. Mary has just signed her own death warrant. Walsingham waits until all the conspirators have revealed themselves, then strikes. In August 1586, Babington and his companions are arrested. On September 20th, they're executed at Tyburn, hanged, drawn, and quartered. It's brutal even by 16th century standards. Elizabeth, hearing how gruesome the first executions were, orders that the remaining conspirators be allowed to die before being quartered. A small mercy. On August 11, 1586, Mary is arrested and moved to Fotheringhay Castle in Northamptonshire. She's now formally charged with high treason. Mary's trial begins October 15, 1586. A commission of 36 peers and councillors sits in judgment. Mary has no legal counsel. She cannot see the evidence against her beforehand. She cannot call witnesses for her defense. The trial's outcome is predetermined. Mary defends herself eloquently. She denies knowing Babington. She claims her letters were forged. But Walsingham produces her own secretaries who confess under pressure that the letters are genuine. The evidence is overwhelming. On October 25, 1586, all commissioners except one find Mary guilty. Lord Zouche alone votes not guilty, perhaps from mercy, perhaps from doubt. But one vote cannot save her. The sentence is death. Now Elizabeth must decide. Parliament demands Mary's execution. Elizabeth's counselors urge it. Protestant preachers call for Mary's death. The people want it. For England's safety, for Elizabeth's survival, Mary must die. But Elizabeth hesitates for nearly 4 months. Mary is her cousin. Mary is a queen, anointed, crowned, divinely appointed. Executing her would shock Catholic Europe. It would set a terrible precedent. Kings and queens might start executing each other. Where would it end? Elizabeth tries to find another way. She hints to Mary's keeper, Sir Amias Paulet, that he might quietly murder Mary, poison her food, smother her in her sleep, make it look natural. Paulet refuses absolutely. He won't make a shipwreck of my conscience, he writes, or leave so great a blot on my poor posterity. So Elizabeth must decide openly. Sign the warrant and take responsibility, or refuse and leave Mary alive to inspire more plots. Imagine Elizabeth at Greenwich Palace in early 1587. She's 53 years old. She's reigned for 28 years. She's survived assassination attempts, rebellions, invasions, and countless plots. and now she must decide whether to kill her cousin. On February 1st, 1587, Elizabeth signs Mary's death warrant. She gives it to William Davison, a privy councillor. But even then, she wavers. Should it be sent? Should she wait? She talks of revoking it. Elizabeth's counselors know their queen. They know she might change her mind. Without telling Elizabeth, they immediately send the warrant to Fotheringhay. They're protecting their queen from her own mercy and ensuring England's safety. On the evening of February 7th, 1587, Mary is told she will be executed the next morning. She's 44 years old. She's been a prisoner for 19 years. But she faces this news with courage. Mary spends her final night in prayer. She writes her will. She writes to the King of France. She distributes her belongings to her servants. Rosaries, prayer books, small remembrances. She prepares to die. February 8th, 1587. Morning. The great hall at Fotheringhay Castle. The hall has been draped in black. A scaffold stands in the center, 2 or 3 steps up with a block and cushion. About 300 witnesses crowd the hall, including the Earls of Shrewsbury and Kent as official observers. Mary enters dressed in black with a white veil. She's calm, dignified. She carries a crucifix and prayer book. When she removes her black gown, she reveals a red petticoat underneath. Red, the Catholic color of martyrdom. She's making a statement. She's dying not as a traitor, but as a martyr for her faith. Mary kneels at the block. She places her head on it. She prays in Latin, "Into thy hands, O Lord, I commend my spirit." The executioner raises his axe. He swings. The first blow misses her neck, hitting the back of her head. Mary doesn't make a sound. The second blow cuts through most of her neck. The third blow severs the head completely. The executioner holds up Mary's head, crying, "God save the Queen," as tradition requires. But the head slips from his hand. He's holding Mary's wig. Mary's real hair underneath is thin and gray. Even in death, she maintained appearances. A small dog, a Skye Terrier that had hidden under Mary's skirts, refuses to leave her body. It must be carried away, howling, covered in blood. When news reaches London, Elizabeth's reaction is extraordinary. She's furious with her counselors for sending the warrant without her final permission. She claims she never meant for it to be executed so quickly. William Davison is imprisoned in the Tower and fined heavily. Lord Burghley, Elizabeth's most trusted advisor for decades, is refused audience for months. Is Elizabeth's anger real, or is it political theater, allowing her to claim she was deceived that Mary's execution happened against her will? Historians still debate this. What's certain is that Elizabeth understands the magnitude of what's happened. She's executed a queen. She's executed her cousin. She's set a precedent that will echo through history. 62 years later, Charles I will lose his head to an executioner's axe, and people will remember that Elizabeth executed Mary. Mary's body is embalmed and buried at Peterborough Cathedral. But in 1612, her son, King James I, who became King of England when Elizabeth died in 1603, has his mother's body moved to Westminster Abbey. Today, Mary lies in the Lady Chapel, her elaborate tomb facing Elizabeth's across the aisle. In death, these two queens who never met in life rest just feet apart, facing each other for eternity. Elizabeth chose caution and survived. She avoided marriage, avoided naming an heir, avoided committing herself to any course until absolutely necessary. She reigned for 45 years and died peacefully in her bed at age 69. She gave her name to an age, the Elizabethan era, a time of cultural flowering exploration and relative prosperity. Shakespeare wrote his plays during Elizabeth's reign. English ships circumnavigated the globe. The Spanish Armada was defeated. England became a significant power. Mary chose passion and perished. She married for love. First Francis, who she genuinely cared for, then Darnley, who she found attractive, then possibly Bothwell, though that marriage remains controversial. Her passionate decisions destroyed her. She lost her throne at 24. She spent 19 years as a prisoner. She died on a scaffold at 44, executed for treason by her own cousin. So who was right, Elizabeth with her caution, or Mary with her passion? Perhaps that's the wrong question. Both women were products of their age, an age when being a female ruler meant constant danger, when religious conflict tore kingdoms apart, when one wrong decision could mean death. They both did what they thought necessary to survive. Elizabeth's caution kept her alive and in power. Mary's passion destroyed her. But does that make Elizabeth right and Mary wrong? Think about what these two queens shared. They were both intelligent, educated, capable rulers. They both loved music and poetry. They both knew what it meant to be threatened for being female rulers in a male-dominated world. They both understood loneliness and fear. In different circumstances, they might have been friends, but they were born into circumstances that made friendship impossible. There were two queens, but many people believed there could only be one throne. By birth, by religion, by politics, they were destined to be rivals. The tragedy is that they never met. Mary begged repeatedly for a meeting. She believed that if only they could sit down together face to face, they could resolve everything. Elizabeth always refused. Perhaps she feared Mary's famous charm. Perhaps she knew that seeing her imprisoned cousin would make it impossible to keep her captive. So they remained strangers who knew each other only through letters, through spies' reports, through rumors and fear. What would have happened if they had met? Would Elizabeth have been moved by Mary's plight? Would Mary have been able to negotiate better conditions, or even her freedom? Or would meeting have changed nothing? Two queens still bound by impossible circumstances, still unable to both survive. We'll never know. What we know is that their rivalry ended the only way it could, with one queen dead and the other haunted by what she'd done. Elizabeth lived another 16 years after Mary's execution. She never married. She never named an heir until her deathbed, when she finally indicated that Mary's son James should succeed her. She ruled successfully, but she must have sometimes thought of her cousin. Did she regret signing that warrant? Did she wonder if there had been another way? And Mary, in those final moments on the scaffold at Fotheringhay, what did she think? Did she regret her choices? Did she wish she'd been more cautious, more like Elizabeth? Or did she die believing she'd been true to herself, true to her faith, and that her sufferings made her a martyr? Perhaps Mary found peace in death. She'd spent her life trying to be the queen people expected, the beautiful queen, the powerful queen, the Catholic queen. She'd made terrible choices and paid terribly for them. But at the end, she faced death with courage. She died as a queen should die, bravely refusing to show fear, certain of her faith. Today, when you visit Westminster Abbey, you can see both tombs, Elizabeth's and Mary's, facing each other across the Lady Chapel. Two queens who in life were rivals, who never met, who destroyed each other. In death, their neighbors for eternity. Elizabeth's tomb is grander, more elaborate, fitting for a queen who reigned for 45 years. Mary's is simpler, but still dignified, befitting a queen who lost everything but maintained her dignity to the end. The inscription on Elizabeth's tomb reads, "Mother of her country queen for 45 years." The inscription on Mary's tomb calls her Mary Queen of Scots and lists her tragic story: queen at 6 days old, Queen of France at 16, forced to abdicate at 24, executed at 44. Two very different women, two very different reigns, two very different endings. But both remembered, both honored, both part of history. The rivalry between Elizabeth I and Mary Queen of Scots reminds us that history is rarely simple. There are no clear villains or heroes here. Elizabeth wasn't simply the wise, cautious queen protecting her realm. Mary wasn't simply the romantic, tragic victim. They were both complex women making difficult choices in impossible circumstances. Perhaps the real lesson is about the price of power. Elizabeth paid for her power with loneliness, never marrying, never having children, never fully trusting anyone, always having to be the queen before being a woman. Mary paid for pursuing power with her freedom and ultimately her life, making passionate choices that destroyed her throne and ended with her execution. Both paid dearly. Both suffered. Both were extraordinary women who shaped their age. And both in the end were simply human, trying to survive, trying to rule, trying to navigate a dangerous world that didn't know what to do with powerful women. The throne they competed for is long gone. The religious conflicts that divided them have faded into history. The plots and fears and conspiracies are all in the past. What remains are two marble tombs in Westminster Abbey, a tragic story that still captivates us 4 centuries later, and the memory of two queens who could never both survive. Two queens, one throne. A rivalry that could only end in tragedy. And now for all eternity they rest in Westminster Abbey, facing each other across an aisle, forever linked by the twisted fate that made them cousins, queens, and mortal enemies.